I'm Amy Flannery. I'm a senior here in the IBL department. I co-op with Shane this summer in Everett, Washington with the Boeing company. And if everybody's not familiar, yes, they do make planes. That was a question that I got asked a lot here. One of the things that I took away from my co-op was that, as Professor Meyer, Dr. Meyer said today, like, you need to start networking, you need to start doing it now. Just as an example, there was over 10,000 employees each day that would rotate through the company where I worked with the 747 program, and obviously I didn't know all of them, but I got to know a lot of people, and especially if you're with a lot of interns, definitely speak with them and network with interns, because this is a funny story. So I worked in the 747 program, and this other intern worked with the 777, and they were trying to take one of our buildings, our warehouses, outside. And he was talking to me, he's like, yeah, we're trying to acquire this building. I said, oh, what building is it? Is it the 4005 building? He's like, yeah, definitely, that's what we're trying to do. So where do you work? And I was like, oh, thanks for the information. I work with the 47 program. So, you know, I got to go back to my team and say, you know, like, listen, you might want to think about a different warehouse. So that's just one example. Another thing that I took away was that you need to be, I want to take more responsibility. As an intern, they give you a lot, but you definitely can go out of your way to find other work. I had work to do, but if you ask different departments, they're definitely open to, you know, say, yeah, I definitely need help, and it definitely makes you look really good if you go and ask to help people on your team. And then the third thing that I learned was that Shane and I were out there, and obviously everybody knows there's only 1,000 students at the school. We went out there, and there were students from Ohio State with 60,000 students, Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, and it was very, very intimidating, you know, to say, hey, yeah, I go to Maine Maritime. Where is Maine Maritime? What is Maine Maritime? And so then to tell them there's only 1,000 students, they kind of look at you like, how are you here? But definitely, this program prepares you for anything. A lot of the employees didn't even know what Visio was, so if anybody knows what Visio is, I'm sure everybody does, then you're a step ahead of people that work at Boeing. So then, 3 things that I would have done differently. Actually, another thing that I learned from my co-op, was that one of the problems that Boeing has is that right now, a lot of the 3 generations don't really mesh well at the company, and you need to learn how to mesh well with every generation. I know you might not understand it now, but there are people out there that have 25 years of experience and you have 0, and you need to listen to them, as well as they also need to learn that you have experience with software that they don't have. So it's just kind of a balance, you know, between knowing your place and knowing when to kind of speak up and say, hey, can we try it this way? One thing that I would have done differently was I would have reached out and joined more clubs. Wade today was talking about how he got really active because when we were thrown out there, it was Shane and I, and we knew nobody else besides another graduate, Lauren. So Shane was an hour away from me, so I really couldn't hang out with him all the time or kind of talk to him. So just throwing yourself in activities that you could do definitely makes the homesickness go away if you choose to go away from home. As I said before, I would have asked for more responsibility, and then definitely would have networked more. If you leave your co-op, definitely take names down of your managers, different interns, anybody you meet, because you never know when you're going to need to talk to somebody. And it's just as simple as Dr. Meyer says, going up and introducing yourself. So that was my experience.
All right, I'm Shane Sullivan. Like Andy was saying, we worked pretty much, we had different facilities. I was in the 737 program. We produced 38 airplanes a month, which is like really good. Anyways, so my project that I was working on was inventory reduction plan. I went through a freight forwarding company and reduced inventory by 20%, which is a substantial amount. The 3 takeaways that I had is I have a better understanding of the supply chain for Boeing and how important it is to their company, getting the parts from overseas and whatnot. The second thing is teamwork. Working in the manufacturing environment, everybody in the production plant has to be on the same page and have the same goals for it to be successful. And the next thing is global business perspective, I got to work with suppliers overseas, so I did a lot of international business, like our degree, so it was really good. 3 things that I would have done differently. I would have done a lot more research on the Boeing company. There's just so much to learn for the company, and there's just so much information. I would have gotten more involved, like Andy was saying, with the outside the company. There's just so much to do out in Washington. And I definitely would have done more tourist attractions. And the recommendations, try to shadow as many people as you can. There's just so many opportunities out there, and you never know when the right person's going to be there that might be looking for somebody for a job. That's it.
Also, another thing, when you go, if you get an internship with the Boeing company, you're also thrown in with like 1,800 other interns. And we were in the Northwest Business Program, so there was, I think, well, 200 in our area. So it is a huge program, and it's definitely, there was engineers, IT, and business students. So there's a lot of competition, and you definitely need to make sure that if you get an internship at a larger corporation, that you're selling yourself as much as you can.
Okay, so Kelsey and I worked at Target. My location was the Bangor main location.
Mine was awesome.
Yeah. So there's different departments within Target, and mine was hardline. So that means everything that sits on tile was my department.
We're going to go back and forth. Mine was guest experience, so essentially I had check lanes that I was in charge of, as well as the whole store, how the guest is perceiving the store.
A little bit of my project is I did what we call like the vibe score, and it's the percentile of people who rate a 9 or 10 on their experience in the store. So what I did was try to improve that process, and I was also the back to school captain. So when you guys go to school and you're having all those binder sales and whatnot, like I was in charge of all that. So that's what I focused on, was raising those scores.
My project was red card conversion, so when you go to Target and check out and they have this whole spiel about sign up for this red card. Our goal was a 2.5% for each store. Doesn't matter what that means, but I ended up getting up to a 374 by the end of it. So
Takeaways that I would say is time management is absolutely key. And you guys gotta start like now, because you're gonna get really busy. But there's so many responsibilities, so many things that you have to do. It's policy. So just making sure you're organized, carry some kind of notebook, keep track of everything, and just make sure you're keeping in contact with, if you have like managers above you, because they need to know what's going on as well. Second is take risks. That was stress toss, especially. Showing initiative, showing that you're open to new ideas, doing new things, and what have you. And then getting to know your team, as you mentioned a little bit with networking. That's really important too. The more you talk to people and you get to know who you're managing, the more they'll respect you and be more apt to listen and be more, do what you want them to do. And that's really hard as well, because when you have people who are 20 years older than you and you're fresh out of college and they're supposed to listen to you, they don't really like to at first. So gaining their respect is very important. Okay. What I would have done is I would have been a little bit more aggressive in my leadership right from the start. I waited till probably about halfway before I really started taking my initiative into holding people accountable and that nature. And then I would have delegated a little bit more. That kind of goes hand in hand with being aggressive with leadership. I tried to do a lot myself just because I was kind of afraid to ask people to do it for me. But yeah, it was really, really good. Suggestion, I would say pay special attention to your management classes. Those were very, very helpful, especially in the retail business portion.
management communication, and you're sending out 5 emails a day to everyone.
Yeah, like we were emailing our we emailed each other. Like we stayed in contact this summer, which was really helpful. But like our manager, our boss's boss, yeah, and then like the guy that is in control of Maine and Hampshire, all of that. So I mean, you're talking to some high up people, and you don't want to sound like a fool.
So reread your emails 97 times before you hit send. There you go. So my key learning, the first one was managing talent. I was there for roughly 5 days before I was expected to do 3 performance evaluations for people between the ages of 29 and 65 who had been there for no less than 6 years, I think. And I needed to tell them what they were doing wrong and what they were doing well and what I needed them to do in 2 weeks before their next one. So getting thrown right into it was interesting challenge, but from there I had to manage talent quite a bit more just because of different positions than Leah did, because I had 16-year-old cashiers and an 82-year-old card attendant, and learning the communication between each of those. Obviously it's not going to be the same conversation, so that was a huge takeaway. Another one was communication, which obviously has to do with management, but like Leah said, you're sending out emails all the time to people that are going to judge everything that you're saying. And my third one was learning retail. I had no idea what to expect walking into Target, and kind of learned that whole beast of what it is. 3 things I would do differently was ask more questions. When anyone's had classes with me, I raised my hand roughly twice in 3 years, I think, and it came off to my bosses. I got the feedback that it didn't seem like I was engaged enough because I'd never been the type to ask questions. I just kind of take what they give me. So ask questions, get as much out of it, because it does come off that you don't care, when in all reality you all probably do. And network with interns sooner. I had a different experience than Leah, as in I had a mentor, and my boss, his boss, had never had an intern before, so Target gives interns a learning plan, and every week, if not every day, you have a certain thing that you're supposed to accomplish. And we followed that for probably 3 days and never looked at it again. And I thought that that was normal. Like, obviously my boss knows what he's doing, and come to find out week 7, when I talked to other interns, obviously I've been talking to Leah, but I wasn't getting all that I needed to, so I should have spoke up much sooner, actually held people accountable for what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, like you'll get out of the internship as much as you want to, really. So I mean, if you're not satisfied with how it's going, politely and in the appropriate way, talk to somebody about it. Make sure you're getting your work.
Hey guys, I'm going to pass around a piece of paper. If you would, I want you to print your name and sign it, please, as an attendance. Okay? I better get my pen back afterwards. I work for BAE Systems in Nashua, New Hampshire last summer. BAE is a British aerospace and defense company. It's the world's third largest, and I work for the electronic systems division of it. Electronic systems pretty much makes really high-tech military electronics that go in fighter jets, anything like that. It's all really expensive stuff, and I wasn't even allowed to know about it, so it was pretty fun to work there. But I worked in the stockroom supporting manufacturing operations, and for like daily duties, I was pretty much just incoming and outgoing stock. But about a couple weeks in, one of the employees left, and they put me in charge of close to $500 million worth of inventory of all their in-process stuff that's in the process of being built. So what I would have done differently, mostly I would have just looked to work more outside of my department. If I could have gotten a broader view of the whole company, that would have been an awesome way to really make my internship more complete. Besides that, 3 to 4 months is really short. Like, it goes by quick, and you might think you have time to do a lot of stuff, but it's over in a blink of an eye. So just right from the get-go, I would start trying to work with other employees, work with other departments, try to network more, and just really start right off the bat. That's it for me. Good luck with your projects.
I'm Ian Champion. I worked with Kiewit in Lenexa, Kansas, which is just outside of KC. They're Fortune 500 engineering and construction company. I work in procurement, which is purchasing and materials management. They build power plants, infrastructure, skyscrapers, anything you imagine. One thing that I learned was you have to adapt quickly, learn quickly. You get things thrown on your desk with no guidance, and they expect it to be done that day. You just got to go with it. You can't run around like a chicken with his head cut off. Ask questions. I also learned how to deal with different types of personalities, which you will get exposed to because not everyone's the same. You're going to have to learn to deal with them and get the same result. Computer systems, materials management. I was actually on site at a power plant for a few weeks where I got to be in the warehouse receiving materials for the power plant that Kiewit was building. You get exposed to so many different things you don't even realize, and you just got to go all in. Things I would do differently, not spend as much money, because you're going to be making money. Don't spend it like I did. Anyways, ask to be involved in more things. There's things going on in big companies like where I was. I played, they had golf leagues that I played in. I played in softball leagues every week. You know, you get opportunities to do things like that. You're better off to just do it. It's fun. You get to meet more people. You get to get exposed to different people in different departments. Like I was playing softball with engineers and all this fun stuff. Go travel and have fun. That's my words of wisdom. From Maine, always have been. Didn't think I'd ever want to leave. I got the opportunity to go to Kansas City, and I did it. Drove halfway across the country. Got to do fun things all summer long. And if you have a chance to do it, just do it. This is the time that you're going to be able to do it while you're young. So that's my advice.
Did I let you guys know that you're being heard on your presentation style too? Okay. That's much.
I own that.
Yes. I'm Ashley Harriman. I did my co-op at Bath Ironworks. It's in Bath, Maine. So I didn't travel across the country. My projects were primarily, right now, they're building a Zermatt DDG 1000, which is new construction, totally new ship. So there's a lot of dynamics to that, learning how to build a ship that's never been built before. And then I did some work on the startup of the DDG 115 program, which is basically trying to reteach themselves how they've done something they've always done. Most of my projects were based on inventory management, materials management. I ended up having 3 desks in 3 different buildings. I've worked mostly with the material coordinators to support production, which is just always changing every day. They need something and they needed it yesterday, and you better figure out how to get it there for them. 3 things I learned. There's always room for improvement. BAW builds the best ships for the Navy, and their material coordination, there's always room to improve it. And I think one of the biggest things for me was I went there and I didn't think I knew as much as I did. So you are able to contribute even if it's a big company. Learning here and learning in a work environment is totally different. It's way more frustrating to try to learn something in a work environment than it is to be sitting in a classroom not getting something. So with that, I think asking questions is really crucial. I sat in meetings for 2 weeks and didn't say a word because they spoke in letters that I didn't understand. I sat there writing down acronyms and asking people what what an EDG was and everything. They were speaking a different language, so that's really important. So to go with that, things I would have done differently, I would have gotten more involved sooner. I spent 2 weeks very timid and afraid and not really showing them what I really could do. So I would have probably got out of my cubicle more the first couple weeks. But eventually, I mean, I had a pretty unique experience. I got to work with a lot of union guys, welders and ship fitters. I learned how to weld, not very well. Welders and ship fitters that have been there for 30, 35 years, that this is what they've done for their whole life. So I got a really unique experience getting to work with all the union people. I had a few projects, but I wish I had had more. I did a lot of sort of day-to-day job shadowing, and like Ian, I spent a lot of money. I think my best advice can just be, don't settle for just sitting in a cubicle. You know way more than you think you do, and you just have to get out there and find something that you can contribute and make yourself an asset so that when they roll around, they'll call you back and want you to come and have a job there. Yeah, don't take it for granted. You have a really good opportunity, and don't just settle for something. So I guess
So I'm Ryan Heising. I work at Lonza Biologics in Summer, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We make active pharmaceutical ingredients for like autoimmune diseases and stuff like that. So the first thing that I learned from my co-op, be yourself, so like, you always want to be professional when you go into a work environment. That's what we always talk about, be professional, wear your dress, stuff like that. But you gotta, be yourself and like use your hobbies to get to know people. Like you're just walking by somebody, and they got a Sox hat. Hey, you see the Sox game last night? Or you see Tiger on 18 or stuff like that. It just breaks up the monotony within the work environment. That's like, pushing papers, doing this, doing that. You can meet people on a personal basis, and it helps you get to know them better, and it helped me in the end. I had a better relationship with my coworkers than my boss did, which kind of was interesting. So we've all been students. So the second one is, when will I ever use this? I think probably everybody in this room said that. When am I going to use this calculus? When am I going to use this? I was looking for Professor Jane actually, because I put him on blast in class last year. I was like, when am I going to need to know warehouse design? I got in there and they're like, you're on a warehouse design team. All right. So yeah, that was one of my projects I did, warehouse design. I had to set up the most economical version, like racking and alphanumerical system for pallet location, stuff like that. And then phase one of moving what was in our existing warehouse to the new one. So that was kind of interesting. And then a job within the pharmaceutical industry is a career direction that I would like to pursue. Like before, when I was looking at colleges, I was like, maybe pharmaceutical stuff is in my future. And I picked something just like that. I went to a small town Maine and did logistics. So 3 things I'd do differently. Plan, breathe, and plan again. So you come out and you hop into the working road. You're not at the restaurant. You're not at the ice cream place. You're making some good money, and you're in what you're studying, and you want to just hop right into it and just all right, what can I do? I can do it fast. And you got to sometimes step back and breathe and be like, all right, plan it out, do what you are asked to do. Because I felt that towards the end of my time there, I was going back. I did a good job. It was reformatting stuff that I didn't plan out ahead of time. And then take advantage of Lonza's horizontal business structure. That was kind of cool. Definitely found out something I liked. I don't really want to work for a company that's kind of vertical and I can't talk to people. I could walk up and talk to my director about the vacation to Singapore he was going on, or like I said, how the Sox game was, which is nice. But my director was he used to work in finance, and then he went to the UK, and then he went to Switzerland. And so I want to talk to him more on a personal level about his journey through the company and how he used his personal skills to get him where he was now. And then played golf with my coworkers. Like Ian said, there was some golf leagues and stuff like that, and when the Masters was on, that was big. Everybody's in there talking about golf, which was nice. And came up that we had golf league on Tuesdays, and I was working and never got to go out, and so that would have been kind of nice because golf and business kind of translate, how dressed you go on the golf course, that whole thing. But so other helpful tips. Use your interests and passions to mold the way you go about searching for a co-op. So, like you said, do what you like to do. If you want to do something, find a co-op that's going to be able to put you where you want to be after graduation. Don't be like, all right, well, I want to go in the pharmaceutical industry, but I'm going to go do something completely different. Try to get something that's going to put you at a good place when you get out of school. And don't be afraid to reach out to companies that you don't want to do. You know, I mean, probably like, I applied to 3 different breweries, you know, like, that would have been cool. Like, probably didn't have any shot at it, but you never know if you don't try. Like, you can't be sitting in wherever you're working this summer and being like, well, what if I had put into that brewery this summer? What could I have been doing? So, I mean, I got shot down, but first rejection email I got, I was pretty happy. I was like, at least they sent something back to me. So, but yeah, so that's the line change.
Hello, I'm Alexis Bennett. This summer I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I'm actually mad because Ariel also worked there as well, but she unfortunately had a volleyball game, so she can't share her experience. We worked at 2 different branches, and we actually had 2 completely different experiences. Just the working environment where she worked was a lot different from where I worked. She had a lot, like I cleaned a lot of cars this summer. She didn't have to clean probably 1 car a week. But, so I was dressed like this in 90-degree weather all summer, cleaning cars on my hands and knees, like, all the time. Which wasn't bad, because I got to get out of the office, but I had a lot of fun with it. I think that I learned a lot about sales, because I really hadn't ever worked in sales before. So I kind of got thrown into the wolves. Their computer system it's pretty complicated, especially if you've never worked with it before. I'm pretty sure the first time I ever answered a phone, it sounded like, blah, 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 Enterprise. And I was like, oh, I'm so scared. But I dealt with it pretty well. I had to deal with people on a regular basis all the time, all day long. So your personality just had to be, you had to be very enthusiastic, very positive, like, hi, can I rent your car? What do you want? What can I get for you? Like, all day, every day. There was no room for me to be in a bad mood, ever. Because customer service was #1 on our list all day, every day. Which isn't a bad thing, because it's definitely a confidence booster when you're talking to a lot of different people all day, every day. I definitely learned that you always have to maintain a certain level of professionalism, because you never know who you're talking to. I gave rides home to a lot of different people, whether they needed to go to a local hotel, to a corporation up the road, and I didn't know who they were, but you know, you're kind of like a taxi driver. When you talk to them and be like, oh, you know, how's your day? Like, where are you going? You know, how's your vacation? And there's a lot of people that were, you know, worked at certain places, and I'm like, wow, it's really nice to have met you and had this great conversation. And I got cards from people that I talked to that I never thought I'd ever talk to. So that was fun. That was a great aspect of it. I learned a lot about communicating with people, lots of different people, that type of thing. Let's see, different things. Let's see. I wish that my experience, I was the intern at the office, so there was a lot of days where they were like, hey Alexis, can you go do this? And then come back in and, hey Alexis, can you go do this? And my experience differed from Ariel's experience, because a lot of times she was the one saying, hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me do this? And there's a lot of times where I didn't really step up and say, you know, like, can I do this? Or can I not just clean cars today? May I please have more responsibility to help you do your job? Like, you know, what are you doing as a manager? Like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't ask a whole lot of questions. I just said, oh, okay, yeah, like, I'll go do this. Yeah, I'll go do this. And I was a robot all summer. And I wish I had stepped up and said, you know, can I do this? Can I help you with this? Like, what are you doing? And I didn't really get that experience that I'm kind of jealous Ariel did. And then also, let's see, other than asking questions a lot, there were some days where I would sit and I was trying to work on a co-op project, and I just really didn't have a whole lot of time, and I didn't really do a really good job because I didn't balance my time really well, because I was always following everyone's direction. So I wish I had spent more time, you know, planning my day out a little bit better. Suggestions, I would say, Enterprise is definitely a good company to work for. Just because you're not sitting in an office all day, you have fun with your summer. The people that we work with are very, very fun. It's definitely never boring. You know, I've talked to a lot of the interns, and there are some days where they'd all go out bowling after work, or they'd sit in the office Alyssa Severance worked for Enterprise, and there were days where they'd be playing ping pong in the office during a downtime. So definitely isn't boring. Ask lots of questions, have fun with it, you meet lots of different people. I would say kind of with what Ryan kind of went with, like don't be afraid to interview with a lot of different people. Like you said, like you might want this job, or you know, I don't know if I can get that job. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if I'm good enough to get that job. But don't be scared, and definitely be aware of where you're getting a job. It was hard for me because Enterprise in Maine, it's so spread out. There were days I would travel almost over an hour and 15 minutes to get to work every morning. That was really hard for me. I had almost 45 minutes to work every day because I worked between Augusta and Rockland. And Ariel worked in Nashua. There are people who work in Boston, get on a train and go 5 minutes to work. Different atmosphere. The airport, different atmosphere. You're literally renting cars for people all day long. You don't have to worry about cleaning cars. You just sit at a desk and write paperwork and you do your thing and it's quicker. So just be aware of where you're working and the atmosphere around that area. So you kind of know.
Hi, everybody. So, I work for DuPage Corporation in Rumford, Maine. That's my area where I'm from. I live in Dixville. So, unlike a lot of people, I didn't really get too far from where I live, and I wish I would have, but I still had a great experience this summer. One of the things that I got to do was they had just created a new warehouse within the mill instead of outsourcing it to a place in Auburn, Maine. And so I got to deal with all the new kinks in the system. That was really fun. Not really. It sucked. And I got introduced into a lot of things that we briefly or talked about a lot. And my experience through various classes helped me do well at this co-op. We got into 3 different types of computer systems. I didn't know anything about it. I was asking questions every single day, every single second, and they loved it because I wasn't going and destroying something because I didn't know how to scan it right, or I sent a roll all the way to Argentina when it needed to be in California, you know, and that happened, but not on my part. And let's see. Another cool thing was you don't realize how connected the school is. There is actually 135 employees at DuPage as a whole who are Maine Maritime grads. 3 upper level management are Maine Maritime grads. And when I walked into a meeting one day, my boss introduced me, and he's a UMaine feller. And so we all have our gifts and whatnot, but I was appreciated because I was a fellow almost, you know, and but they were like, wow, we know where he comes from, what he's learned, and so when I sat in that meeting, I was able to be comfortable and voice my opinion about certain things. And afterwards, the mill manager was getting a little ticked because they all wanted to talk to me. Meanwhile, he's still trying to hold a meeting, and that was one cool thing, was when I walked into that room and I found out how vast this network is. One bad thing that happened this summer, which I wish it hadn't, my very first time getting on a heister, I had someone damage the roll, and I had to go and turn it around and slab it, and then had to enter it into the computer system, and then go back into my office and type in some more codes. I come back out, I get on it, and I go to put it near the elevator. Well, the elevator's upstairs, and it's one of those service elevators with a piston, so the elevator just goes up through hydraulics. It's not, you know, pulley system. So I go to set the roll down, and it just clamps open up, goes right into the elevator. Elevator comes flying down, hydraulic oil goes everywhere. I cost the mill $2,000 in the state of Maine, fined them for excessive hydraulic oil going into the ground. Meanwhile, I was able to save $6 million when I helped them design another program to help manage their inventory throughout their new warehouse. So that was a plus. So they didn't fire me. If I hadn't, they probably would have fired me. But the biggest thing I can take away is ask questions. You in doubt, ask questions. You're all here because you feel like you have good business sense and you want to travel and you want to, be able to work with people and manage people, and you can do that wherever you go. And do what you think is going to make you happy. If you're going to wake up every day and you're going to go out and you're going to hate your job, it's not for you. So don't do it. So when you're looking for co-ops this summer, find something that you think is going to be really cool. You're going to enjoy it. And like everyone else said, make sure time management is your key priority. All right? That's all I got to say.